Welcome back to another Honest Gaming Review. In today's episode, let's talk about Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxies. So, I started playing this game after I'd seen it come to Game Pass, and I waited a couple of months before I ended up playing it because it wasn't really my type of game. But I was really excited for it after seeing some clips from it, some videos, some things like that, and I thought I was really going to like the game. However, unfortunately, that was just not the case. When I first started playing the game, I was really impressed with the graphics, how smooth the game played. I liked playing as Peter Quill, being able to change his outfits, stuff like that too. But the more I played the game, the more increasingly I got upset with the game. So the problem is that when you first start the game off, there's a little bit of short clips, a little bit of cutaways, some things like that. Obviously, every game's got those. But when I got to about halfway point in the game, I had filmed an episode where I was playing the whole thing, obviously, and I filmed about a 2 hour episode. And in that 2 hour episode, I'd say almost an hour and a half of it was cutscenes. And that's just absolutely absurd. And I got so frustrated sitting there waiting for the cutscenes to end, and it just never happened. And then the rest of that half-hour session, which is multiple short cutscenes over and over again, and I maybe got to play like 10 minutes of combat or anything, even like just walking through it. Was maybe 10 minutes. So I didn't end up posting that YouTube, and I ended up deciding I wasn't going to post anything more or even record anything more about Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I did play a little more, and the next time I tried to play, it was about the same. It was almost another hour's worth of cutscenes, and the next time I played, and I was just so frustrated with that. It felt at that point, and it started to feel like it before that episode even, like the creators of this game were more going for an animated movie than a video game. And the more I sat there and thought about it, the more that rings true. So the thing is, when you're playing the game, almost all of your gameplay is to advance the story, which is normal in this type of game. However, it really just got to the point not too long after the beginning where it's not like God of War, where you could go and you can really like explore around in your little area. You know, you've got an open map, but you can go wander around a little bit and go do some stuff. It's really just straight linear. Like there is not much exploration, anything like that, which is just not my type of game. Now, there's some people who might enjoy it, and I'm not going to say that you can't enjoy this game because it is a beautiful game. The graphics are absolutely amazing. The work is absolutely stunning. So, in that sense, I really loved this game. However, like I said, as far as gameplay goes, not really much gameplay there. It really just feels like an animated story. I don't understand the hype on this. I don't understand the hype for the game in general. I know there wasn't as much as like High on Life or some other games that I've played recently, but it was very underwhelming. Now, to sit down and watch the animated cutscenes, like I'm pretty sure there's some YouTube videos out there. There's YouTube videos for everything, so I'm sure you can find it. But just sitting back and watching the cutscenes was fun in its own right, but when I'm sitting there trying to play a game, it sucks. And playing an absolute linear game, I know a lot of people end up enjoying that when they're not like gamers, but for me personally, I love playing FPS games, shooter games, third person games, combat games, active games, and this is not one of those. It really just follows a linear line, just walk this path, go this certain way, and the majority of the time where you even get to control your character, you're literally just walking around following someone else from the game as they're telling you a story about the game, advancing the story, and you're not even playing. You're not fighting, you're not doing anything. You're just following along. So, I would not personally recommend this game to anyone who likes that kind of a game. Well, not that kind of. Anyone who likes FPS games, anyone who likes active games, shooter games, combat games, which is what I thought this was going to be from everything I'd heard. I'd seen a bunch of combat from it, and I thought I was going to be able to go explore around some open worlds and just find stuff, fight some enemies, loot and go on my merry way, and then get to the end and fight some bosses along the way, have some fun, meet Lady Hellbender, hear from Drax's past, stuff like that. But that's just not what happened. It was just straight through the story, like just marching straight from one point to another to advance the story. And when I was already like 10 hours, 18 hours deep into this game, and that's all it was just very disappointing. With that much work put into the animation for the game scenes, I feel like they certainly could have, at the very least, made it a very limited open world where at least the areas that you get to walk through on your way to go do fights and stuff like that were a lot more open, getting to explore around. Like, even High on Life did better on that than this game did. And at this point, my other video should be up about High on Life, and I was really disappointed by High on Life. So to say that High on Life, a smaller franchise than Marvel games are, did a much better job is really sad because I could not stand that game for the life of me. So yeah, this it was just disappointing. This game was disappointing in all aspects. Now, again, like I said, it was fun to play as Peter Quill. It was cool. I loved seeing his guns transform as we went through the game, getting the electric shock ability, getting the freeze ray, and even getting the wind cannon. And that was about as far as I got. I didn't even get to the end. I haven't finished the game yet because I couldn't stand it. But yeah, it was cool to see his guns because it's not something you've seen in the Marvel movies yet, and I really haven't even seen it in most of the Marvel animated that I've seen. So it was pretty cool to see that, something from some of the comics. It's not as common, but it is in the comics. So that was kind of cool. And I liked seeing that side of it. I liked seeing the more childish side of Gamora with the dolls and stuff as she was meditating. I liked seeing the more humanish aspect of Rocket, where we got to see from his past a little bit of his like trauma that he'd been through. I liked seeing from Drax about his family, which is not something we really got to see in Marvel, at least not in the movies. It was a cool experience for the characters, but again, it just feels like you're sitting there watching a really, really long movie. And that's okay if you're there for the movie, but if you're there for a game, you're going to be extremely disappointed, in my opinion. Now, again, my opinion doesn't mean everything, but I would say you'd probably be disappointed if you're coming there looking for a third person shooter in Marvel style as Peter Quill, because that's just not what happens. So, all in all, I personally would give this game like a 4 out of 10 just because it was fun. The graphics were absolutely stunning, and it was fun to get to play through with the different weapons, to get to play alongside of Rocket and Groot and Gamora and Drax and Mantis, and it was still fun in that sense. But as far as a game goes, there just really wasn't a game there, and that was sad.